Hi, my name is Kylie Taylor, and today I'm going to present my presentation on the French Revolution. So, before I go in, I want to talk about my historical narrative. So, I picked the French Revolution because that's the most one that I know a little bit about. I have some knowledge about it, and for my presentation, it'll go really in depth about the Queen of England, Maria Antoinette. I think that's how you say her name. And that's because for my narrative, I'm going to be writing as if I was her, and I'm going to explain her journey through the French Revolution. That's how I'm going to portray the French Revolution for you. So, who was involved during the French Revolution? During the French Revolution, the country of France was separated into royalists and revolutionaries. So, the main people that I'm going to talk about is Maria Antoinette, which is the Queen of England, King Louis, who is the King of England, and also I'm going to talk about the group called Jacobins, which were a group of revolutionaries, and that includes I'm just trying to see how it says his name, Maximilien Robespierre, and I'm also going to talk about a peacemaker that has importance, but will have a lot of importance about how the Queen of England survives later than being killed early on before the revolutionary began. So what happened? So during the French Revolution, there was a lot of violence, mostly directed toward the royalists because it was the revolutionaries who who were taking control over the royalists. So in the beginning, there was a storming of Bastille, which was called the commoners, who are the revolutionaries. They took over a prison to gather more people, and they also got gunpowder, which helped their weapons to fight against the royalists. So there was also a woman's marching on Versailles. I don't know if I said that correctly, but that's Versailles is the area in France where the king and queen lived. That's where their palace was. And women marched to the palace and demanded to see the king so they could get fair prices on bread, because then it was really hard to purchase bread because it was so expensive and the commoners paid too many taxes to afford it. And lastly, the other violence that can be seen is executions. People were beheaded. And on the top, this is the Queen of England. She will be beheaded, or she was beheaded. I will show that in my narrative. And I will also show King Louis. He gets beheaded about 10 minutes earlier than the Queen of England does. And that's when they have been in prison, and I'll go into that in my presentation. And besides violence, there was change in the government. So the commoners were able to take control over the government from the royalists, and they were able to change the structure of government from a monarchy to a revolutionary republic government, which is basically a democracy like we have. So the commoners had more of a say of what was happening in their government and country. So why did this occur? So the French Revolution occurred because the townspeople, the commoners in France, they were living really poorly. They had a lot of taxes, like I said, that they had to pay. And the royalists, they always got the high job, so they got more money and they lived luxurious. And also, changes were being demanded from the commoners. They did not want to live this way anymore. And also because how I'm going to get into about the queen. So there was rumors being made about the queen, about her spending all of France's money, and the people did not think that it was fair. So that just made more anger, and it made an effort to rebel against the queen. So when did the French Revolution occur? So it took place on July 14th, 1789. Yes, 89. And it ended on November 9th. Yes, November 9th, 1799. So even before the revolutionary occurred in 1774, that was when the queen and king took their royal throne, and that's when all of the money, like the economy, like went downhill from there, because the queen spent lots of money on her exotic dresses. You can see right there how she's dressed up so nicely. And there was rumors. There was the diamond necklace scandal. There was let them eat cake scandal. And she also had love affairs, and that just made her look poorly as a queen, and the commoners didn't want to follow a poor like role model that was supposed to be their ruler. So where did this occur? Like I said, it'll in the beginning it'll occur in Versailles, France, which was where their palace was, the Palace of Versailles. But majority of my setting will be in Paris because there's lots of major events that happen in Paris. They get moved to a palace called Versailles Palace, which is in Paris. And then later on they'll get moved to the Temple, which is where they're imprisoned, and then later on they'll be executed in there's a place called a Palace de la Concorde, but before it was called the Palace de la Revolutionary, and that's where people got executed publicly. Right here's the temple. Right there is the Palace de la Concrete. That was the Torres Palace, and that was the Versailles Palace. So what culture changes occurred? So like I said, political and social changes occurred a lot during the revolution, the French Revolution. There was different establishes and constitutions made. There was feudalism. It was called the French estates. They were broken into 3 social groups. The priests were at the highest, and then it was the noblest, royalist, and then the third estate, which most people were at, were the commoners. And afterwards, it was just a republic. Like, there was also no more political power in the church, and that's why there was no more feudalism, because the priests were not at the highest anymore. That shows it right there. These are like the royalists and priests, and they're on a commoner. And then lastly, there was establishments made and new ideas. They ended slavery. They gave more rights to women, which can be see here. These are all women, like, debating. And they also just gave the liberty to the commoners. And these are my citations.